Episode 4: The Compounding Shift. When people talk about compounding, they usually mean money. They'll show you a graph, maybe, of £1,000 invested and how it grows over 20 years. And it's impressive. Watching numbers multiply has a certain magic to it. But compounding is bigger than money. It happens in behavior, in choices, in the systems you set in motion and leave running. It happens every time a small decision, made once, repeats itself, without needing more of your effort. And that's what I want to show you in this episode. The compounding shift, the moment where leverage stops being an idea and becomes a living structure. Let's start with something simple. Imagine you decide to change the way one of your household bills is structured. On the surface, it doesn't look like much. Maybe it saves you £40 a month. It's not life-changing on day one, but then the month ends, and there's another £40, and the next month, another 40. Without any extra work from you, that single change has repeated. Now here's where it gets interesting, because it isn't just about the £40, it's about what that shift makes possible. That small decision freed up space, and maybe that space allows you to add a second adjustment. Another bill rewired, another routine shifted. Suddenly the effect isn't just stacking, it's multiplying. That's compounding. It's the point where you realize you don't need giant leaps to change direction. You need small steps that repeat. Think about how most people live. They fight for one-off wins, a bonus at work, a side job that pays for a few months, a quick cutback that frees up some cash until the next expense arrives. It's exhausting, because every win demands new effort. Every gain is temporary. But the compounding shift changes the rules. Once the system is rewired, the returns are built in. You don't have to fight for them. You just let them keep happening. That's the difference between built to bill and built to pay. One drains you every month. The other pays you every month. Same system, different wearing. And here's the part most people underestimate. Compounding isn't just financial. Yeah, it's different. That's how I think it's psychological. Because once you've seen one bill flip from drain to return, your perspective flips with it. You stop assuming the default is fixed. You start looking for the next lever. The system hasn't just changed on paper. It's changed in your head. And that shift compounds too. Every time you act from leverage instead of effort, you reinforce the belief that you can. Every time you see a return without extra grind, you trust the framework more. And the more you trust it, the easier it becomes to keep walking through the leverage door. That's why this matters. Not because £40 is world-changing, but because £40 repeated is proof. Proof that the structure works. Proof that yes leads to movement. And once you have proof, everything else accelerates. Let me put it another way. Imagine a flywheel. Heavy, awkward, impossible to move with one push. You strain against it, and nothing happens. But you keep pushing, slowly, consistently. And then, finally, it turns. Just once at first, then again, and again. And each turn makes the next turn easier. Each small movement adds momentum, until eventually, what was impossible becomes unstoppable. That's compounding. The first shift feels small, almost insignificant. But as it repeats, it builds momentum. And momentum is where transformation happens. Now, remember those 3 doors we talked about last time? Effort, enterprise, leverage. Effort never compounds. The moment you stop, it stops. Enterprise can compound, but it often eats more than it gives. Risk, complexity, stress. Leverage, though, is designed for compounding. That's what makes it different. That's why the framework matters. Because leverage turns ordinary routines into repeating returns, and repeating returns create freedom. This is where attraction marketing ties back in too. Because people aren't pulled in by numbers on a page. They're pulled in by stories. And the story of compounding is the story of transformation that feels achievable. Not overnight success, not lottery wins, the small, visible changes that keep growing. That's what people believe. That's what they lean into. And that's why the compounding shift is so powerful. Because it gives you a story you can live inside. So what does this look like in practice? It looks like a family who switched how one bill was set up and within a year found themselves not just saving, but earning. It looks like someone who stopped treating their household as a drain and started seeing it as a system. It looks like the person who said yes once, saw the return, and realized they could keep saying yes again and again. Not big, dramatic gestures, just ordinary people choosing the leverage door and letting compounding do the rest. Here's the question I want you to hold before the next episode. What would change in your life if the small decisions you've already made started repeating in your favor? Not once, not as a one-off, but again and again, quietly, automatically, because that's what compounding is. The quiet multiplier, the thing that doesn't look like much in a single moment, but over time becomes undeniable. And if you think back, you'll notice you've already experienced this in other parts of your life. Habits that built momentum, skills that felt impossible at first but grew easier with repetition, relationships that deepened through small, consistent gestures. Compounding is everywhere. The only question is whether you've designed it to work for you or against you. In the next episode, we're going to bring it all together. We'll talk about the easy yes, the moment where everything you've seen so far, the fear, the framework, the compounding, converges into a choice. Because by then, you'll know the truth. The other option isn't about grinding harder. It isn't about risking more. It isn't about waiting for luck. It's about saying yes to a system that's already been sitting in front of you, waiting for you to notice. And once you do, once you step into the easy yes, the rest unfolds from there. So hold this thought for now. Compounding isn't out there in charts or textbooks. It's already here, in the structure of your daily life. And the moment you rewire that structure, the moment you let leverage do its work, the compounding shift begins. I'll see you in episode 5.